All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Give me touching on the top prop bets today on both PrizePicks and Underdog. Let's go ahead and get into it. So just overall today, we are getting some good prop bets, specifically on PrizePicks. So I want to start with there. Right now for Underdog, we're not getting fantasy score props. So let's just go ahead and jump into the fantasy score props that we are getting for PrizePicks right now. And so looking at right now, guys, we are getting one good college basketball prop. It's going to be Reese Beekman for under his fantasy score at 33.5. This one has about a 56% for the edge right now. That's going to be because the average sportsbook line has it at 32.7. The projection data likes it at 30.1. All in all, that's the best prop bet that we are getting today, though. After that, a little bit of edge there with Jordan Wright, about a 53% chance to hit. But once we get more prop bets coming in from Underdog, we'll be better able to gauge whether or not we are getting big edges on PrizePicks or Underdog. Now, yesterday we had one with Ryan Kalkbrenner that we saw massive edge on PrizePicks. That ended up being true in the sense that PrizePicks ended up bumping that up to 38.5. They recognized the flaw in their projection. Unfortunately, he just did not have that great of a game. So it is one of those situations that when we do get big discrepancies like that between PrizePicks and Underdog, it can be worthwhile to try to middle, which is betting in that case, it was betting the under on Underdog, betting the over on PrizePicks. So I do like to compare specifically college basketball to what Underdog has out there because we can gain a big edge there in general. And so let's go ahead and get into the NBA props because that is where we are getting the next biggest edges on the slate today. And yesterday, I'm still tilted. Yesterday was the first bad day we have had in 2024. Every single other slate had been over 50%, most of the times being 4 out of 5. Been hitting at an extremely great rate. I've been warning you guys for literally the past 10 days now. We're gonna have a bad day. It's going to happen. And honestly, it was well overdue. What was unfortunate though is that literally a half an hour later, we started to get more fantasy score prop bets for NBA, for college basketball, and the top 3 that we had all hit. And so timing is key with the content for sure. I tend to put it out a little bit later than normal than other people do. And that's for you guys. That's my views kind of hurt because of that, but I want to give you guys the best information possible. So that's why I came out with this video a little bit later. And so with that, we are getting more props available right now for NBA specifically. And I want to talk about the Portland props that we are getting right now because we are getting some decent stacking opportunities. And man, the last couple of days in NBA has been pretty crazy, has it not? Just real quickly about that, guys. I mean, Portland with their game winner, or not really game winner, the timeout that they didn't get granted. If anyone has ever wondered if the NBA is rigged, maybe that would be their best case there. That was kind of crazy. The Bucks firing their coach, even though they're the second best record right now in the East. All the stuff from 2 nights ago with Cat getting sat with 62 points, Embiid getting 70. It's been a fun time in NBA. But looking at it for Portland's perspective, they are going to be pissed off, are they not? It felt like they got cheated out of that game because it's clear Broden's trying to call a timeout, the head coach is calling a timeout. Basically every other situation in the NBA, a ref is so ready to call a timeout or a foul in that situation. The fact that they didn't was just strange. And then they, ejected the head coach for rightfully being mad. That was just strange. But that being said, Portland should be pretty motivated to play well tonight. The thing that we are seeing, though, for Portland specifically is we are getting a bunch of correlated bets. We typically don't get this. So we got Jabari Walker for over fantasy score. That one is one we would already naturally end up on. Has a huge edge rating. I would imagine that this one does get bumped throughout the day. I know fantasy score prop bets typically do not get bumped throughout the day. That's the beauty of them, is that for the most part, the lines that we're getting are going to be the lines that are going to be there throughout the day. But just with the big edge that we have here, I do expect that to eventually get bumped, maybe when or if Underdog comes out with their lines. But looking at it with Portland, guys, Jabari Walker, he has been playing more minutes, and this game could blow out, don't get me wrong, going against Houston, and he has been a little bit hit or miss. But the fact that the data likes that one that much, I'm definitely fine going back to it. Want to call out Malcolm Brogdon, who has been starting. It's weird, I've been saying this the whole season. He feels like their best player, and I feel like that's not too much of a hot take as it sits right now, but he is someone that I'm a little bit surprised hasn't gotten traded yet. The minutes have been there for him. Obviously, that game last night was a close game. What's really shocking to me is the fact that against the Lakers as well, he got 33 minutes in that game as well, even though that game was a blowout. He is playing extremely well. Now, I do want to call out something. Last night, he did have a good game fantasy score-wise on something like DraftKings, 30 fantasy points there, but he had 7 turnovers there and only 1 block. So he did not get his over fantasy score on something like PrizePicks, where they value turnovers more harshly. And so he is not someone that's typically going to get a lot of turnovers. But I think if he doesn't get this over, we're going to look back at that and say, okay, that's why. And same thing for Simons, who is someone that's really popping up fantasy score wise as well. This is such a sticker shock moment, though, with Simons, who has been someone that throughout the season had been very productive for Portland. And he is getting minutes. Let's not question that. He is getting a lot of shot attempts as well. The issue is that Scoot Henderson, especially in the last game where Simons did not get his over, Scoot Henderson got a bunch of shot attempts up. And we are starting to see that more frequently where Scoot Henderson is going to get a lot more shot attempts. So the issue that we have here is that maybe Scoot Henderson has another good game. Now, I wouldn't be surprised to see Malcolm Brogdon potentially sit on a back end of back-to-back. He is someone that probably will get traded. He is someone that, last season, Boston was extremely worried about his injury history. I already sat out a little bit this year. That could happen. Same thing with DeAndre Ayton. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know what to do with DeAndre Ayton because this is an extremely low line for him as well. So I like the fact that we are getting stacking opportunities for Ayton, for Brogdon, and maybe Simons as well. I don't know if I would use those like individually, where Jabari Walker, the data really likes it. I'm going to roll with that. But in a stacking opportunity, I do think it makes sense. Now, Ayton, it's weird. He didn't have like I don't want to say he had a terrible game per se. 5 points, though, is pretty bad. 3 turnovers is pretty bad. That's the theme, is that a lot of Portland players had a bunch of turnovers last night. You would expect that to get corrected tonight, although Houston they can turn over the basketball on opponents, so it wouldn't be too shocking to see that continue. But at the same time, I just think Portland's going to play better. They're going to be motivated to play better. They're going to feel like they got gypped out of a win last night. That being said, like if Ayton gets 27 minutes, typically speaking, he's going to be able to get this over. He's going to get some blocks. He's going to get more points than this typically. That was a little bit shocking, especially given the matchup with OKC. That's not typically a matchup that I'd be too worried about. And so I do like those 4 prop bets that we're getting. I think that's a very good stacking opportunity. And you could potentially run it back with Jabari Walker for under his fantasy score now, or sorry, Jabari Smith Jr. for under his fantasy score. Houston big there. Now, he is someone that is a little bit too hit or miss for me to like really want to tell you guys to play or not to play. The issue with him specifically is that he can get a lot of minutes, and in matchups that are a little bit easier, he has been producing. So I do have a little bit of caution against this one, but I think that's why he's been popping up a decent amount as a good overbet or underbet, because it's more if he gets a lot of minutes, he can really crush. And so we look at the 2 games in which he has gotten the overs. They've been 2 easy matchups, and Portland is an easy matchup. And so I will still bet it. Like the day is telling us to bet it, I still will, but I wouldn't be opposed to you guys not playing it. Like that's not like checking all the boxes for me. That's not exactly when I feel like we need to go out of our way to make. And then from there, we got another situation like that with Rudy Gobert for under his fantasy score at 39. So he also is getting a good matchup as well, going against the Washington Wizards that have been a team that we've been targeting bigs against really this whole season. And for the most part, Rudy Gobert or Towns have been 2 players that have been taking advantage of easier matchups. That's the thing. It's like, I don't really love playing that game where it's like, all right, which one of the 2 is going to go off? Is it going to be Rudy Gobert? Is it going to be Karl-Anthony Towns? Now, for the most part, it has been Rudy Gobert that's been consistent there. Obviously, 39 is a lot, and if this game blows out too fast, then he's not going to get that over. But that's another one where kind of just proceed with caution. Then looking at some other prop bets that we are getting, just pulling them up here for you guys. Like we're getting some decent ones. Mike Conley's back tonight, over 27.5 fantasy scores, a decent one there. Like we are getting a bunch of decent prop bets. By all means, if you want to roll with any of these, that are popping up. Daniel Gafford for over his fantasy score. He's going to have to play minutes if that game stays close. We know the theme with Gafford. Like he could get that over fantasy score if the game stays close. Again, though, difficult matchup for him. So, decent as a whole. Let's go and check out some other prop bets on different sports, and then I'll give you guys a bet slip. So real quickly, let's jump into NHL. So yeah, yesterday was brutal. The one good bet was a freaking tie on hockey. And that's kind of the issue with the hockey props these days, though, is that PrizePicks and Underdog, they're both quick to adjust the lines to make them be favored as a push, like Alex Ovechkin here, where they have it set at 3 because, well, it should be. He's probably going to get 3. And so that's the line. Same thing with Cal. Under 3 shots on goal is probably just going to get 3. Slight difference here with Kevin Hayes for over 1.5 shots on goal. That's decent. The projection data likes him to get 2. Slight edge there. But all in all, they have been very tight with the NHL props, which is a little bit unfortunate. Discrepancies wise, we're not getting any big differences. None that I would say are noteworthy. Then in the NFL, guys, I am so sick of Jahmyr Gibbs fantasy score under being one that's popping up because he has been a touchdown machine. I don't know if I exactly want to touch that. We are still getting Smith for over tackles and assists. That was one on the bet of the day yesterday that could really save my Taco Tuesday day if he gets his over tackles and assists. Let's see here. We got some other ones. Gus Edwards for under his fantasy score, 7.5 7.5. Maybe we see Cook get a little bit more work. Kind of interesting there. Jameson Williams now under fantasy score. He was someone that last week his over fantasy score was being projected for the over, so maybe something there. And lastly, guys, golf wise, we are not getting any big differences right now. We did at the start of the day and yesterday as well. Max Homa was 1.5 stroke difference, and so that was one that I actually took advantage of Taco Tuesday wise as well. After some of the games had started, I used that in the late night taco, so I'm kind of hoping that hits. We'll see. It was at, I think it was at 7.5 on or 70.5 on PrizePicks, so I went with the under there, and I think this was at 68. No, it was at 69 is what it would have been at on Underdog. So there were some big prop line differences right now, because the PGA Tour is playing on 2 separate courses, guys. That is not going to be showing up in the EV only part of the cheat sheet, because, well, different courses, there's going to be different data points to be looking at, and that's just not how the day sheet works. So right now you'd have to go into the golf tab on the website and look at the golf prop. And then lastly, real quickly, let's jump into underdog prop bets that we're getting, just so I can show you guys. We do have Nathan McKinnon for over 1.5 points. That's a very good EV bet that we were getting there. Block shots, Adam Larson for under 1.5 block shots, a decent one there. We're seeing Isaac McKinley under points, 12.5 there on underdog. So man, we are getting some pretty good prop bets there on underdog right now. Typically speaking, we don't get block shots that are popping up as good EV bets, so by all means those are going to be ones that we could run out. And with that, let's go in and get into the bet of the day. I will start out with that underdog, the good EV bets that we are getting there. Typically speaking, these are going to be ones that get bumped, and they might get bumped by the time most of you guys get there. That's going to be unfortunate, but man, typically speaking, we are not getting that many good EV bets on a Wednesday, so I think I'm going to try to take advantage of those right now. If any of these are still available, or 2 of them are still available, you can definitely go in and attack these. And then let's jump into PrizePicks. So this is not the bet of the day for PrizePicks. I just want to call out that we do have a good stacking opportunity with Portland. It seems like all the data points are telling us that the Portland guys are being undervalued today. And I think just given I think they'll be extra motivated. That is something that I want to get some exposure to. The one really good prop that we're getting for Portland is going to be Jabari Walker for over his fantasy points. I don't exactly like the Jabari Smith Jr. for under fantasy score, but the data was telling us to play that one, so I went and did that. Maybe that correlates. Maybe Portland blows out Houston. I doubt it, but maybe they're extra motivated and play well. Thus, I think that would increase the likelihood of all 4 of those prop bets in. But I want to call that out because, we don't get too much correlation like that on one team, typically speaking, so I want to call that out. But yeah, this is going to be the prop bet of the day then. So we are still going to roll with Jabari Walker for over his fantasy score at 22.5. That is going to be one of the best prop bets that we are getting. Jabari Smith then for under his fantasy score. Again, I don't love that. This does feel a lot like Finney Smith, where didn't exactly like that prop bet, but at the time that was the best prop bet we were getting. So like yesterday, I kind of mentioned this with Finney Smith. If we are getting better prop bets on the 9-to-5 cheat sheet and you guys like the other ones, by all means substitute a different prop bet in there, because like this would be the one I would replace. Reese Beekman for under fantasy score, that's seemingly a good one right now. And then we're still getting Smith for over tackles and assists. I feel comfortable rolling with that as it sits right now. But guys, that's going to be all for today's video. Make sure to give a like and subscribe. I do appreciate that. Hit that notification bell as well if you guys want access to the 9to5sports.com tools to give you access to the PrizePicks and Underdog cheat sheets and the fantasy golf tools. Head on over to 9to5sports.com, available for $10 a month. Thanks for watching, and as always, let's keep cashing.